on the NICSA, the National Internet Exchange Point of Afghanistan, the pairing toolbox by Dr. Philip Smith, and finally the pairing personnel. So without any delay, I would like to call upon Mr. Indra Raj Bosnet for his talk on manners for operators. Indra is a senior engineer at Subisu CableNet and also a manners fellow for this year 2022. So Indra.
Thank you, Divya. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, already introduced by Divya. This is Indra, Manners Fellow for 2022 and R&D engineer at Subisu CableNet. And I'm just presenting on manners for network operators. So before going to manners, I'm just introducing the network. Yeah, we all most of us are from network background, and we know how the complexity of network increase. We all know as the network grows, problem starts to arise. So for now, in overall global internet, we see more than 9,20,000 routes. They are only IPv4 routes and more than 1,50,000 IPv6 route along the more than 73,000 ASNs. So, so global routing table is increasing and increasing day by day and causing more network problems day by day. So we can see various type of news and news becoming the headlines on different media day by day. So likewise, routing leak briefly takes down Google. Similarly, some security news, some DDoS news, and many more. Some of the incident example just I am describing shortly, like Vodafone Vodafone ASN hijack. So that is a simply prefix hijack, and Vodafone just started more than 30,000 prefix to originate, and traffic got disturbed. Major internet traffic got disturbed that belongs to Google, Microsoft, Cloudflare, Akamai, Fastly, and many more. This is the incident of 2021. Similarly, in 2008, we saw YouTube hijack attempting to block major YouTube traffic. So this type of incident happening day by day, we can see multiple incidents, internet routing incidents, even in Asia and even in Nepal. So these are the some of the incidents taken from BGP stream. We can see BGP. We can check bgpstream.com to check the every incident that is happening day by day. So major routing incidents that is happening in the real world are related to prefix or route hijacking, simply BGP hijacking, similarly route leaks, and IP address spoofing. These are the major problems that we are facing, and we are not away from these problems. We South Asian people, we Nepali people are not away from these type of problems. And I have taken some data taken from observatory related. They are the incidents from June 2021 to June 2022, and 1 year back also. So we can see the first first draft where we can see uh, uh, 4 route misoriginations, 1 route leaks, and in that happened in 2022 December 2021 December. That is the peak incident happened in Nepal, and those type of incidents happening day by day. Similarly, in 2021, we can see other incidents also, but they are not exceeding 5. Similarly, we can see culprits who is generating this type of incidents. So obviously, from three of the networks, at peak, we are seeing those type of culprits, and ratio in 2021 and 2022 is almost similar. We are less in the less than 5 incidents in comparison. Similarly, while checking the routing incompleteness in terms of IRR, we see 96.9% registered routes in the internet in 2022, and before 2022 it was 96.7. Similarly, in terms of RPKI or ROA, we are seeing 94.9% valid. Similarly, 4.4% unknown, and 0.7% invalid routes originating in 2022, and in 2021 it was quite less, and we are still improving. So in before 2021 it was 91.5% valid route. Similarly, 6.6% unknown, and 1.9% invalid. So these all are the statistics. They belongs to Nepal, and these are our statistics. And this snap is just taken the real incident basis, and on that particular time luckily there was no incident in Nepal, so no culprits, no incidents. However, other related statistics are there, and these type of problems I already explained are happening in internet day by day. But obviously, if there is problem, there will be solution also, and the solution is manners. So it is mutually agreed norms for routing security, and it is nothing but the norms, and it provides crucial fix to eliminate the most common routing threats. It is the new norm. Simply we say new norm, but it became old norm. It started from early 2010, and it is for routing security, and it improves the security and reliability of the global internet routing system based on collaboration among the participants, and it is the shared responsibility of all the internet infrastructure providers. And manners have basically 4 programs: one for network operators, another for IXP, another for CDN and cloud providers, and another for equipment vendors. So I am basically explaining manners for network operators, means why manners is necessary for we all providers. It is launched in, I already said it is not new. It is launched in 2014, and it basically raised the awareness of routing security problems and encourage the implementation of actions that can address those type of problems. So to fix the problem is collaborative responsibility of all of us who works for global internet routing system. And it provides the framework for network operators to better understand the address issues relating to the security and resilience of the internet global routing system. So to To implement manners, it have 4 actions. We can make them 5 also. One is filtering, another one is anti-spoofing, coordination, and global validation. Global validation in terms of IRR, and global validation in terms of RPKI or ARUA. So what the filtering is? It is filtering is the first line of defense, and it ensures the correctness of your own announcement and those from your customers to adjacent networks. So we can control what routes we are announcing to others, but we cannot control what others are announcing. So we need filters for towards us also. To avoid this issue, we have decided what routes to accept from others. That actions we need to do. So basically we need to use inbound filtering. Similarly, we need to use outbound filtering also. And we also we can check the BCP 194. Basically, it is the RFC 7454, and it describes what prefix to filter. So we need to basically filter the prefix that are not globally routable, and if they are, we need to filter the prefix they are too specific. Similarly, we need to we need to filter the prefix belonging to the local areas. Similarly, IXP LAN prefix, and maybe we may need to filter the default route also based on the conditions. So if we want to apply these filters, we can check the site for reference manners.org/isp/guide/filtering. And similarly, another problem is anti-spoofing. Another problem is spoofing, and to mitigate that, anti-spoofing is necessary. And yes, we at least need to enable the source address validation for those single home desktop customers, and our own towards our own customers and infrastructure. If we can do this, we will be more safe, and our address will not be spoofed. So source address validation is the best current practice, that is BCP 38, aimed at filtering packets based on source IP address at network edge, and it basically tells for filter invalid source address, filter close, and we need to apply filters close to the packets where they are originated as much as possible. Similarly, we need to filter very precisely if that is possible. And techniques, basically, 2 techniques are there. One is ACL, and another is unicast reverse path forwarding. And unicast reverse path forwarding is the preferred one in terms of CPU memory utilization. So I have just pasted the statistics from SIDA project, spoofer.sida.org. Similarly, to mitigate, we have some recommendations. We can just download the software from sida.org and test our network statistic, test our IP statistic. Similarly, we have Team Camru and RTB as well. The next one is coordination. Coordination maintain the globally accessible, up-to-date contact information to communicate to everyone, and we can get it from peering DB. And we need to update every information on that need to be publicly accessible on peering DB, or we can update it on RIR also. So another action is global validation in terms of IRR. So it facilitates the routing information on global scale. IRR contain information submitted and maintained by ISP or other entities about ASN and routing prefix. So each global IRR is comprised of network distributed database maintained by RIR, such as EPNIC. Similarly, some service provider, likewise entity, and third parties such as RADB. What preferred one is from RIRs. So basically, validation in global validation in terms of IRR, we need to maintain atnom, similar route, and AS set. So in terms of RPKI, actually RPKI facilitates routing information on global scale. So providing information through RPKI system stores information about prefix originated by your network in the form of route origin authorizations, objects, and only prefix that belongs to your ASN is covered. But only the origin ASN is verified, not the full path. So all regional internet registers offers a hosted resource certification service. So we can use them. So RPKI basically is the security framework for verifying the association between resource holder and their internet resource. Basically, resource are AS number and IP address, and LIR can create ROA for those resource binding. So basically, prefix and origin are the resource, and we can give the max length on prefix, and we can create the ROA through RIR's login portal. So what the RPKI do? Basically, it is the authority proof who is the legitimate owner of the resource or address, and identify which ASN have the permission from the holder to originate the address. And ultimately, RPKI can prevent route hijacks, misorigination, and misconfiguration as well. And basically, RPKI validation states are valid, invalid, and unknown or not found. So basically, we need to make our prefix valid. And why we need to join the manners? Actually, implementing the manners action signals the organization security forward posture. So it reduces the routing incidents, improves the network operations via good communication, and address the concerns of security-focused customers. So it benefits everyone, and joining the community of security-minded organizations, and robust and secure global routing infrastructure, and helps consistent manners adaptation as steady improvements. So if we apply the manners, there will be fewer incidents and less damage on the internet. So, so why we, the service provider, should join the manners, and it helps to solve the global network problems, and it add the competitive value and differentiate in flat price-driven market, and similarly, it expand the service portfolio as well from a connectivity provider to a security partner. So manners is very necessary for all the providers. And next topic is manners observatory. It is a tool to describe the statistic, and it is a web-based tool that collects publicly available data source, including BGP stream, CIDR reports, SIDA spoofer database, RIR WIZ and IRR database, peering DB, and many more. So it checks the general routing health in particular networks, country, region, and provide long-term view over whatever routing incidents are getting better or worse. And another thing is only manners participants have access to detailed data about their own network. And measurement is done transparently, passively, and evolving. So it will be. So it is the overview of Nepal in implementation, manners implementation. In filtering, we are 99%, anti-spoofing 58%. So we are quite weak here. We need to improve more. Coordination, we are 100%. Similarly, global validation 97, and global validation in terms of RPK, we are 84%. And it is the statistics of South Asia just kept here. And till now, how many participants are there? This is just the statistic. Till now, there are 813 manners participants. Out of that, 685 are network operators, 103 IXPs, 19 CDN and cloud providers, and 6 equipment vendors. And we can implement the manners through some manners guide. Basically, I have highlighted the ISP guide here. So we can go www.manners.org/ISP/pickup for the guidance to implement the manners. And we can join manners. Just log into manners.org/join. And we can sign up here, and we can start. So we can sign up with detail required, and maybe some of the manners member may contact back to us. So I request all the providers to be a member of manners, and to access the manners observatory and to check on statistic. So thanks from my side. If any questions from your side, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you, Indra. We still have a minute left for this. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. No questions? Okay, so up next is Vivek Nigam from Apenic. He will be talking about RPKI, what we have learned and what we have been doing.
Okay, thank you, Divya. Thank you, Divya. Good afternoon to all of you. In this presentation, I'd like to some of the challenges we have observed. Some of the challenges we have learned with RPKI. Is that better? Okay. So in this presentation, I will share some of the challenges we have observed with RPKI, as well as some different improvements we have made to try and address those challenges. So RPKI is a framework that is used to make the association between resource holders, which is all of you, and your internet number resources, which is namely your IPs and AS numbers. In using this framework, you create something called a ROA. So the ROA contains information about what is your prefix, which ASN you have authorized to announce that prefix, and then using the max length, you specify what's the most specific announcement that ASN can do. And once you create this ROA, other networks can consume this information, see whether that matches what they see in BGP. If it matches, it's RPKI valid or good. If it does not match, there's a problem. So some networks will either drop it or give it low preference. So the RIRs, we deployed this RPKI service almost a decade ago, over a decade ago. And the initial challenge we faced was simply getting our members to just create the ROAs. So initially, Our members did not want to create ROAs because there was no benefit back then, because no one was doing validation. And operators would not do validation because there were no ROAs to do the validation against. And for that reason, we did this Ready to ROA campaign since 2015, where every time we went to events such as these NOGs and different conferences, we would take that opportunity to build awareness of RPKI, pretty much hold our members' hands, give them t-shirts, and encourage them to create those ROAs. So as a result of this initiative, as well as various other initiatives like ISOC's RPKI Week, also initiatives by a number of RPKI champions from our community like Anurag there from India, Tashi from Bhutan. Eventually, RPKI got traction, and this is what the ROA stats now look like for the South Asian region. So on the left, you can see about 75% of all the V4 prefixes which are announced here have a covering ROA. And on the right side, close to 90% of all the V6 announcements have a covering valid ROA, which is great. So as more networks or more members are creating ROAs, we are also seeing more networks are starting to do route origin validation. In fact, these days, some ISPs also require you to create your ROA before they connect with you. So in the past, we used to see create your route object so we can verify it in the WHOIS. Now we're seeing or create your ROAs as well so we can verify you are the custodian of this resource. So while RPKI started getting traction and we see more members creating it, we also observed that there was a growing number of RPKI invalids, and the problem was they were simply not going away. So RPKI invalid, it's not necessarily a bad thing because the reason you create your ROA is to show your routing intent. And after that, if what you see in BGP does not match it, RPKI is supposed to tag it as invalid. But the challenge here is that operators who are doing route origin validation, there's no way for them to know if an invalid is caused due to, say, a hijack or because the member created the ROA incorrectly. And for that reason, they will treat them all the same way, which is either drop them or give it low preference. And if your invalid is caused due to incorrect ROA creation, obviously that's a problem which we need to fix. So last year, we had a closer look at these invalids, and we found vast majority of the invalids associated with our members' prefixes were invalid due to max length. So this kind of indicated that these invalids are most probably caused due to incorrect creation of the ROAs. So later in the year, we wrote a blog post to make all our members aware that there's a problem, you need to fix this. We also did some email campaigns. So we reached out to those members with invalids and then helped them fix those invalid ROAs. Now, because most of the invalids were due to max length, we also made some improvements to our ROA interface. So this is what you see here. So in the past, when you entered your prefix in the prefix field, we would auto-populate the max length with the same size. So we suspect some members, they might have not realized we have done this, or some members, maybe they were not sure what max length is, and they created their ROAs this way. But after that, if they announce something more specific, like a /24, which a lot of our members do, all those announcements became invalid. So a simple fix for this was we just stopped auto-populating the max length. So now when you create your ROAs, you need to make an educated choice on what you want to use as your max length. This is another tool we have recently provided to routing status alerts. To access this tool, you simply go to dash.apnic.net, put your MyAPNIC login credentials, and then through this tool, you can see if there are any RPKI invalids associated with your resource. So hopefully when you log in, this is what you should see. It says raw mismatch is 0, which means everything is fine. There's no conflicts. But this is an example of what you'll see if we identify any invalids. So this example I have used here is for some of Cloudflare's prefixes. And that's because they have intentionally created these invalids to do some measurements on which networks drop or don't drop RPKI invalids. So if you take a closer look at the first entry, you can see the prefix we have given to them is a /22. Their routing a /24 with the AS1305. But the row they have created does not match this announcement, and so there's a mismatch. And when you drill into the error, this is where you can see this invalid is caused due to incorrect max length. Again, the announcement is 24. The row they have created is for the covering /23 with max length 23. So that /24 is an invalid. They can now easily fix this by going to my NIC, changing the max length to 24, or create another row to cover that 24. But this is an interesting example because the row they have created is using AS0, which is a special row to tell no one should be routing this prefix. So even in the event they fix the max length, this will still be an invalid, but that will be invalid due to origin AS because of AS0. Okay, another improvement we have made is to reduce the downtime of ROAs when we process transfers of live networks. So typically, a live network transfer would happen as a result of merger and acquisition. So the routing, the infrastructure routing, they don't change, but the ownership of those network gets changed from one member to another. And for that reason, they need to do the transfer. So to make sure that the ROAs don't get affected, we've changed our system so that we retain the resources in the source account certificate for 2 weeks, even after they transfer the resources. And this way, if there are any ROAs that they have created, for those 2 weeks, they are still valid, which gives the recipient 2 weeks time to create the new ROAs, after which we can delete the old ones. So this way, for a period of time, there's an overlap, but both of them are valid, so it does not affect their ROA validation. So to conclude, what we have learned here is there's no easy fix for RPKI. In order for RPKI to be successful, we have to keep making improvements as the needs change. And for that reason, these are a couple of the other improvements we are currently working on. First one is the routing status alerts. So this is an extension to the previous improvement. You can now, or you will soon be able to register to receive notifications every time we see invalid. Pre-validation, so this is at the time you're creating your ROAS, we will check that against BGP. And if we see what you're about to do, to create an invalid, we will alert you before you commit to that. We also know a lot of our members use different IPAM systems to manage your resources. So using the registry API, you will be able to sync your IPAMs with MyPNIC. So any updates you make on your IPAM, that will automatically update your WHOIS, your ROAS, and so on. And finally, we're also updating our guides and articles to capture all these improvements so you can easily access all this information to help you create your ROAS and more importantly, keep them. That is it from me. And any feedback on these improvements or suggestions for others, please let us know.
Thank you, Vivek. Actually, that was the last RPKI ROA domain of the internet presentations. So thanks, Indra and Vivek, both for your presentation. Next up, we have a presentation from our friends from the Afghanistan National Internet Exchange of Afghanistan, and Nangyalai will be presenting this remotely over Zoom. So I hope it's set up.
Thank you. Hello, this is Nangyalai, Head of Next Up from Afghanistan. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We want to talk about traditional internet exchange point of Afghanistan, current states and challenges and improvement. Nexa is an international exchange point. It's a physical infrastructure through which internet service provider, ISPs, or mobile network or MNOs exchange internet traffic between their networks. Nexa has currently 75 members network that connected out of 63 licensed internet service provider. In Afghanistan, there are 63 licensed ISP, but not all of them in central of Kabul, most of them in provinces. Ministry of Communication and Information, the government of Afghanistan procured the necessary equipment and system for the sitting for the first time and establish of the country first internet exchange point in Kabul in the name of Nexa. Kabul is the capital of Afghanistan. In order to execute and operationalize the Nexa system and build the capacity of Nexa staff, potential service provider members to train and equip them to establish the requisite connection to Nexa and to operate the internet exchange. Necessary application and tools were provided by Netlink. It's a private company in Afghanistan, and it has consulting team also. The final on-site system configuration and operation tests were conducted at Nexa V Live on 1st of July 2018 with the joining efforts of MSIT, Nexa, and Netlink teams by the help of World Bank and Digital COSA, along with active participation from a large section of ISP community of Afghanistan. That was the history of Nexa in Afghanistan. We have current state. We will talk about current states. We have connected 5 MNUs in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, there are 5 MNUs. M10, Etisalat, Afghan Telecom, Salam, and Roshan. They are connected with Nexa. They are the member of Nexa HLMS, that system that Minister of Higher Education that established and set up in that ministry, that student can offline without internet download and put their material services on that server. We also connected with Nexa, and we also install cache servers, for example, FNA server, GGC server, PC servers. We have planned to local 77% of traffic without region to not go outside from Afghanistan. No need to have traffic go overseas, only come back, because this was much reduced latency and increased the performance in Afghanistan. We have also planned, but unfortunately, we have some services, for example, root servers for security, looking glasses, XP managers, and DNS servers that has the capability or feature of Q9 that successfully detect fake websites and map about more than 400 websites locally. There is some graph, exchange graph, the traffic. This is aggregated graph. The first one is in 2021, we have about 5 GB internets in Afghanistan, because in Afghanistan, approximately 80% of internet traffic was exchanged through Nexa, including FNA, GGC, and other some things. In previous, we have one dedicated internet bandwidth for only FNA server to fill the cache content of FNA. That exchange we exchange with the Nexa fabric at the reasonable rate. In 22, in the second graph is 222. The intermediate band was bounded by World Bank. They provide about 1 GB internet for a penny, and they also had planned to provide to other dedicated internet for cache servers. By the World Bank decreased that 200 MB due to lack of financial support. The cache content decreased significantly, and the result totally traffic as will down come. I will say the reason of that. The reason for the decreased traffic in exchange of Afghanistan, what was the problem? We have one problem: political situation in Afghanistan change. When they change, you know better know the World Bank and other uh, sponsor this top help to Afghanistan. No changes the number of members connected to NICSA. All no any changes in the operational process or government of NICSA. Just support from the government and other sponsoring bodies is not there as to be used. Budget. The main problem is now is budget of decreasing the traffic, for decreasing financial support from World Bank, because they had planned to provide 5 GB, 5 gigabyte giga internet to cache servers of Nexon to provide sufficient internet prevent for cache fail at Nexon. As a result, these are content that can be served locally by Nexon. According to local survey in Afghanistan, the most more related more internet traffic is related to net. Another something is more or less Netflix, Akamai, Amazon, and other things. But the most topic is Facebook. The second position is GGC or Google, that contain Gmail, YouTube, and other things. So look, we have 15%, and another is Netflix, Akamai, Amazon. This is local survey. According to the local survey of Afghanistan, we have challenges and problems now for grow it next up. We don't have any internet bandwidth for cache servers. Our GGC cache server is inactive now because we don't have an internet for them. And we don't have any approved payment policy for the government for purchasing bandwidth. Most of ISPs, they request, approve the payment policy. I will pay for you to buy bandwidth. But unfortunately, we don't have any payment policy for now. Our service is free. The third problem is challenges no international connectivity policy. Most of international ISPs, they request to join with Nexo, but unfortunately, we don't have any policy. Most operators are not in remote. Most of the operators, so ISP is not in the Kabul, because unfortunately we have one point in Kabul, not in province. They are remote site. They don't have any connection with Nexo. Large operators, if we about service, every large operator in Afghanistan, they have more than 100 GB traffics. They are not willing to join in Nexo. They have benefits and they have some problems. They don't want to join with Nexo. And the other thing is not enough support from the local government and the Ministry of Afghanistan, because our government is leave. They don't have enough budget for Nexo. We have also planned for Nexo, and we also pay some budget for the PCH to assessment the Nexo. Their plan is and their assessment was very successful. They have said in this with the Nexo structure don't have any problem, and they give some ideas. We also want to join and add this idea, and we bought new equipment for Nexo. The first is formulation of proper government body for Nexo. We want to make board of Nexo, because PCH also as in assessment, they gave idea about you should have a board, but unfortunately we don't have now, but we want to create a board. The other thing is community engagement and technical manpower improvement. We also need to human capacity buildings. We should try to train a new human resource for that. And we also try to obtain sponsorship from government or external parties for procuring enough bandwidth for cache servers, because I mentioned before the government change, we have only dedicated 1 GB internet, only 1 giga internet for FNA, and the World Bank had plan. They want to purchasing 2 GB or giga internet for only GGC servers, but unfortunately our political situation not allow for them. And we also have planned to install more content servers, cache servers like Economy, Amazon, Netflix, but not. And we also have planned to in the future, we should create 4 zones for Nexa in our other provinces. And we also need purchasing and procuring new switching capacity to upgrade the switch capacity and accommodate more traffic. And now our switch capacity is 10 gig, and we also want in the future every port has the capacity must be more than 10 GB, like 100 GB. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, can you ask me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thanks, Nangala, for your presentation. And I'm sure the SANOG community has heard about the situation of Nixa, and hopefully there will be support for Nixa in the near future. So up next, I have Dr. Philip Smith with a different hat from EuroIX talking about the peering toolbox. Dr. Philip.
Sure I've forgotten something. Probably the hat I forgot. Brought the right glasses this time, so I should be able to see the speaker slides in front of me. So yes, as Divya said, different hat. So some of the work I do, I spend most of my time with the Network Startup Resource Center. I've been helping EuroIX for the last few months with basically helping document peering best practices. And we're doing that through something called the peering toolbox. So what I want to do is really explain some of the issues. And I've covered this in quite a few of the workshops, and the folks who came to the one the last few days heard me talk about this as well. So we've all known how the internet is growing, but pretty much internet service providers are providing transit to the smaller access providers, enterprises, academia, governments, and so on will generally connect to these smaller providers, or they're outsourced to some systems integrator who just took care of it all. But what's happening now is that a lot of these end organizations are choosing to be in control of their own destiny, so to speak. So what they're doing is they are starting to enter into the peering community. They're getting their own AS numbers, they're getting their own address space, and they're connecting to more than one service provider. So they're multi-homing, and they're discovering internet exchange points, and they're discovering private interconnect as well, as they try and, as I say, be in control of what they're trying to do. And so a lot of the exchange points and the big data centers globally are finding they're spending more time helping some of these newcomers or newbies with the basics of what on earth is an IP address, what on earth is an AS number, who are these strange peering people, what on earth is this peering personal thing that we do, which we'll show you later at the end of this session. All these kind of strange things they don't understand. And so it's ended up with the exchange points. who are not really there to teach 101 or the basics of how any of this works, they end up pointing to information that's on the internet. But where is the information on the internet? It's in various places. Some of the IXs have training courses, they've got how-to websites, the registries of training materials. I've done stuff for 30 years. Network Startup Resource Center has done things. The Exchange Point Associations have done things. And you see the issue. There are all these disparate locations explaining how the whole peering ecosystem works. Now, what do the things? So yes, this is really the issue. We're trying to help a lot of these organizations who really want to be in control of their destiny join the ecosystem. So they've got more than one relationship. It's no longer upstream service provider, just take care of it for me. They have to take care of it themselves. And so as it says there, there's a vendor relationship with exchange points and direct peers. So, so the issues really are the resources. How do they manage the peers? What are all the costs about? How do they decide who to peer with? I mean, you enter the room here and there's a large audience, but if you're a newcomer, who do you talk to? How do you talk? How do you talk about interconnecting your network? Even here in Nepal, if you wanted to connect to NPIX, sure, Rupesh will show you the equipment room and a port and Ethernet switch, but what do you do after that? And so it's quite daunting for a newcomer to all of this. So there's actually a lot to learn. And even when you've done this, how do you go about fixing things? How do you deal with the troubleshooting? Is it the exchange point's fault that your connectivity to a peer doesn't work? It's nothing to do with the IX. The IX is just a layer 2 infrastructure. But how do newcomers know that? And so really what we're trying to do is help a lot of these organizations with a lot of these basics. So that's the toolbox. So as it says there, it's a community-focused learning tool. It's not Philip walking in and building a huge website with all stuff that he's gathered. It's all of us here. And what I'm trying to do is gather, with the community's help, all the best practices, the good advice, the basic first steps in one place. We're not trying to be the ultimate solution for all of this, but we're trying to help at least the exchange point community and the peering community document what a lot of the best practices are. There's a lot of work being done with several exchange points in the room here, several others watching online. They all have good materials, training courses, documentation. And what we want to try and do is pool all of this into one place. Target audience is actually everybody involved with peering. The peering community is getting bigger and bigger, as we see at all the different events. I'm very conscious of it with my apricot hat on. The apricot event, about 50% of our participation is from the peering community. So it's actually a very, very important part as peering becomes the way that everybody interconnects globally, certainly in the last 10 years or so. So it's a website focused on learning, but it's not a website that's going to give you lots and lots of little training courses. What we want to try and do is build something, and it's already underway, not public yet, but certainly the pilot is underway, but very, very short snippets, answering basic questions. If somebody's asking about, what is an exchange point? We have a short paragraph that explains what it is with referencing heading out to cover other terminologies. The idea is to have short sections with very clear explanations for each topic for everybody, to make it easy for newcomers. That's really going to be the test. A lot of the IXs and data centers who have newcomers, they can work through the materials that we are gathering, and hopefully they can figure out what they're doing without having to phone tech support at these organizations. And as we build it, we'll go away from the introductory, we'll go to intermediate levels. So for established peers who are wanting to know about some of the more advanced peering topics, and then finish off with the advanced part, which is really, the most I suppose, sophisticated tips and tricks and so on about how to do troubleshooting on, I suppose, an international scale as far as peering goes. And also how to use the IXP database and, of course, the peering database. So this is, what is it? Yeah, this is just a screenshot of the website. It's not public yet, but it's going to look something like this, and it's going to be simple entry points, buttons you can click on, which will open out as you work through the different topics. So that was just screenshots I took. Actually, I took them last week just before I gave this presentation at PH now, just to let you see what it's going to look like. So I'm hoping by September, so by the time APNIC 54 comes around, I actually have something that you can all go and click on and start to see what we're trying to build. So really this presentation is looking for folks who are willing to help, share a little bit of advice about how to interconnect, maybe from the content providers as well as other folks who are here. Just what they would try and advise the newcomers, because all these bits and pieces I'll be more than happy to add to this toolbox collection that we were building. So if you're interested or anything you want to contribute or would like to contribute, mailing list, peering toolbox at list.euroix.net, or just send me email. Emails. Do you have my email here? No, I don't. But anyway, philip@euroix.net or philip@nsrc.org will get you there as well. So that's all I have to share, really. Any quick questions? Otherwise, I think to stay on schedule, I should hand back to Divya. You can see me during the break or on the social this evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Philip, for that insight on the pairing toolbox. So we are towards the end of this session. Our last topic would be actually pairing personals. So for those who are presenting your pairing personals, I request you to line up at the front so that we don't waste much time. So before we begin, I would like to let you know what pairing personal is. And it actually is an opportunity for network and infrastructure operators to promote peering opportunities. So it's basically telling people about your network and what you're doing in this side of the internet. And it's generally for the ISPs, IXPs, OTT, CDNs, research networks, and anyone who operates an autonomous system number. So there is a tool called Peering DB. So there is a tool called Peering DB where you list all your information. But there are opportunities like this conference where you share information about your network. So for this today's peering personal, we have only a few: APNIC, DKIX India, DKIX International, Extreme IX, Meta, NPIX, PCH, and route views. So I'd like to first call APNIC.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Dave from APNIC. We are ASN 4608. Our traffic profile is fairly balanced. Not much traffic volume because it's mostly you guys talking to us. It's open for APNIC members, but it's selected for others. We are located in Brisbane at IX Australia and Edge IX and Mega. In Sydney, we're at Equinix IX and Mega IX. Singapore, we are at Equinix IX SG1, and Hong Kong, we're at HK IX. Our peering DB entry is AS4608.peeringdb.net, and our website obviously is www.apnic.net. If you would like to peer with us, send an email to peering@apnic.net, and either Chihu, Shakak, or Tohid will get back to you. Thank you very much.
Next is DKIX International. DKIX India, sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vaibhav Bonde from Mumbai. So the DKIX India, 4 locations, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, and Kolkata. So we are available at overall 16 POPs, out of which Mumbai at 9 data centers, Delhi at 4 data centers, Chennai at 2, and Kolkata at 1. The connected ASNs for Mumbai is 433. For Delhi, it is 79, Chennai 37, and Kolkata 11. Peak traffic as per the international standards out there. So Mumbai is standing at 1.12 terabytes. Delhi is standing at 153.35 Gbps. Chennai at 34.73 Gbps. Kolkata at 4.25 Gbps. Route server, we have BERT implemented at all our locations out there. Our peering DB our entries are mentioned out there. And whoever wants to connect to the DKX at any of the locations, me and Mr. Sudhir Pandar is there for your help. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Jonathan from Germany. I'm here to represent DKX International. Just a short addition to DKX India. The rest of our network is at 39 locations around the world. I just checked, we actually now have 2,593 ASNs connected, and peak traffic at our biggest IX in Frankfurt is currently at around 12 terabits per second. The global traffic volume in 2021 was 38 exabytes. We are using BERT on our route servers, and to find everything about us, including our multiple ASNs, just check out peeringdb org/1187. Thank you.
So guys, I'm not really going to read what is written on the slide. You can read it all, I believe. I'm here to thank all of you, the community, the ISPs, the content providers, to help us make this fabric and run it successfully. Thank you so much.
This is a very simple slide. For a reason that I'm lazy and don't want to update is the one disadvantage of our name change is that we're further down the alphabetic list now. But we're what used to be Facebook, now called Meta. So that involves Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook traffic. We are in a lot of places, which is why we're referring you right here to PeeringDB, where you find all the places we're into in terms of private peering. The nearest locations to here we're doing that is in Delhi and in Kolkata. We're also on all the IXs that have presented earlier to connect to you, and we offer cache servers, which a large number of you in the room have in their network and are already using. So if you want to contact us, you have the email address there, peering@fb.com. We have not actually changed the email domain, interestingly enough. The alternative way is we have an actual self-serve web interface where you, if you have a PeeringDB login, can actually ask for peering directly on the website without having to talk to any of us. With that, last one.
Hello everyone, Kavindra from NPIX. We are the first internet access point in Nepal, established in 2002. We currently operate in 2 locations, one in Palisada and the other one in Dalakhel. We have 47 connected ASNs in PTS, that is in Palisada, and 31 in Dalakhel. Peak traffic in Palisada is around 28 GB on average, and in Dalakhel it's around like 13 GB. We do have route server, but it's still in the testing phase, and currently we are working on bringing up another site in Data Hub, which will be interconnected with Palisada and Dalakhel, where we will be operating a proper route server interconnecting, or like currently both the sites are independent. So our plan is to interconnect and make a single internet access point. Thank you.
That's me. Hi, everyone. My name is Divya, and I'm with Packet Clearing House. We are AS42, AS3856. We do DNS Anycast and operate route collectors at around 250 exchange points around the world. We recently turned a few nodes after I sent this presentation actually. So our pairing DB entries are up to date. We are as42.pairingdb.com, as3856.pairingdb.com. If you'd like to host a PCS node at your exchange point, or if you'd like to know more about what PCS does actually in the internet industry, please let me know and let's be in touch.
Okay. So this time it's with my, I don't know what hat, right views hat on. I mean, you're probably aware of Right View. It's been around since 1994, really as a BGP view of what's going on the internet. Started off at the initial one was University of Oregon. They're now present at 36 exchanges around the world. The original one started off as an eBGP multi-hop, but now we're present at IXs and peering directly with whoever's interested in just providing a BGP feed. We're only interested in looking at the routing table. It's used widely by many, many researchers, universities, and people studying how the internet routing ecosystem is functioning around the world. So if you like to peer, well, have a look at the peering DB entry, as everybody else has been saying. Just to note, David Teach has left Right Views as full time. He's still helping out. And so we're onboarding new folks, including Hans and myself, and Ryan is the other one who's been running Right Views. John Kemp, some of you may know years ago as one of the long-term stalwarts of Right Views, is also coming back to assist with the team. So we're pushing things out. Sorry if some of the peering press are a little bit slow at the moment, because us newbies have to figure out how all that wonderful infrastructure that's been built over the years actually all works properly. So anyway, if you're interested, have a look at peering DB entry and hope to get a BGP feed from you. Thanks.
Okay, so thank you everyone for being here. That's the end of the session. We'll be beginning after 20 minutes we have tea and snacks outside. Thank you, and thank you everyone for joining us.
In fact, it's nice to see everybody here in person after a gap of 2.5 years. So thank you everyone for coming. I am Gaurav Upadhyay, and I am going to moderate this session or play MC. We have a closing plenary that will go on for a bit, but just to remind you, the dinner is not at this hotel, it is at Hotel Radisson. And then we'll give you a gap. If you are excited about Kathmandu and don't mind a few potholes, it's actually walking distance. And given the rain, the weather has been pretty nice. So you can walk, or which is the transport? I don't know. There is transport organized from the hotel to the Radisson later today. I want to make sure everybody knows that there is dinner. That is the most important part of this thing. But we will get started with the closing plenary. I have 4 speakers, and then we have a closing keynote. All of these speakers are going to have some interesting presentations. The program committee has put a lot of work. But we start our first presentation with a remote participant. Dhruv is around, I think, somewhere.
Yes, I am.
Dhruv is from Huawei. He's been in the industry for almost 19 years, long time. He's going to talk about the participation in IETF from the region. Dhruv has authored or is a primary author on many, many RFCs. I think my notes here say 33 RFCs. But Dhruv is currently serving as the PCE working group co-chair at IETF and is part of the routing directorate and the sergeant of arms for the IETF mailing list. I don't envy his job, but Dhruv, you have 15 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, hi everyone. I hope my audio is clear. Can I get a confirmation? Yes, so I'll start the presentation. Thanks, everyone. My talk is about participation in ITF from our region, or in fact, lack of participation from our region would be the right title, but let's start anyway. My name is Dhruv. I'm happy to be here today. So, why are we talking about ITF? The first thing is about standardization. And why does the standardization matters in the internet space? Because we need to interop with various different software features, hardwares that have been produced by different vendors, and they all need to work together. And for that, we need interoperability, and standards is the only way to make that happen. And IETF, which stands for Internet Engineering Task Force, is one of the primary SDO. And I'm sure today we have heard many RFCs and many talks about IETF. So I'm sure most of you are aware of the organizations anyway. This IETF is a little bit unique compared to other SDO. They have some very good features like completely open process. All documents are freely available and there is no membership. So anybody can come and participate. The mission of ITF is to make sure that the internet works better. And how do we do that? By producing high quality documents, technical documents, which are technically correct, as well as readable and usable by the community, community like yours. And ITF is an international body and it has participations from operators, vendors, researchers. In fact, everybody is welcome. Anybody who has the technical capability is welcome to participate in the ITF process. So let's talk about our region. Well, there are some parts of Asia where the participation in ITF is pretty good, especially China, Japan, maybe Australia comes to mind. But especially from our region, we have very less participation. I have a few graphs to show about that in the next slide. And one of the reasons which we have thought and we have worked on in the past as well is like we have never had an ITF meeting in our region. There have been Asian ITF meetings, but Asia is such a huge place that putting that as one compared to Europe and North America may not be doing justice to the size of Asia and the number of internet users that actually exist in Asia. But that's one of the reasons there is that participation from our side of the world has been lagging, especially network operators participation. In fact, it's close to nil. I have been participating in ITF for quite while. I haven't seen people coming in. There have been one or two presentations in V6 Ops from Geo folks, which was very, very commended and everybody loved it. And it was kind of sad that the continued participation we don't really see from the operator community from this part of the world. And we need to realize that not all networks are same. Our region have unique challenges, and in the standard making process, if the participation is not there, sometimes those things are not really well represented during the standards making process. So the few key things in this graph would be the yellow line is the total participation from all our SANOG economies. And the green line is India, which is on the higher side compared to all the other nations that we have. We have a few participation from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal as well. Let's take a look at the table as well. The initial one were all the on-sites meeting that was pre-pandemic. So if we go back a little bit, this was our pre-pandemic range. In fact, during the pandemic, as the remote working started, we did see a increase in participation. And I think it's important that we kind of continue on with this trend. This trend that is happening of reduced participation is the one which is kind of disheartening, because we were kind of excited in the initial year of pandemic that yes, the number of people who are attending remote is increasing and we can still do something to sustain this level of participation. Now, these were our online years. There were a lot of participation from India. We had people from Pakistan, Sri Lanka, participating, and the final one is the total number of participation. You can still see the ratio was still quite less compared to the population that we have in our region. So this slide, I don't have to say anything. This is kind of sad state of affair. Let's see if we can do a few things to improve it. But the key question would be like, why do we even care? Why does one need to participate in this ITF? I think at the very, very high level, the mission of ITF is important for everyone. The ITF mission says we need to make sure that our internet continue to work better and continue to work better. And quality of standards have an impact on the daily operations that you have at your work. It impacts interoperability, it impacts operations of your network, it impacts your stability, it impacts which features are available and which are not. So all of this has a huge impact on our industry. And since ITF has such an open process which allows input from everyone, and what happens is during the standards making process, where what we call as a consensus building, there is always give and take. There is always things like, which have competing interest. And as an engineering practice, we need to balance it. And I sometimes feel that when nobody is on the table to represent the interest of our part of the region, of course, there is usually impact in the standards where our use case, our features are not given as importance as other things. In most of the times, this doesn't really matter. You would think like, IP is IP, BGP is BGP, DNS is DNS. Why does it matter? What does South Asia has to do with it? But the key thing is like, we need to realize, and you guys do realize, the scale at which our networks operate sometimes are very different. The lossy nature, the mobile penetration, the kind of network that you guys are operating is very different from other network operators. So when we are talking about network operations, we are talking about debuggability, monitoring. Those features needs to be taken care, not just in the core protocol, but how the protocol behaves in the conditions that you guys are running your network in. So that's why it's quite important for participation from the network operator side as well. And when you participate in ITF, you would be on top of what are the latest things that are happening in the internet space. And in fact, there is a lot of work which is purely dealing with the network operations, not about developing new protocols, but how to operate the network better. So you will find there are a lot of interesting things for you to look at as well. And the most important, as I was saying, like, why should you care? I think your input is most important, because you guys would be able to judge things properly instead of us vendors deciding things on your behalf. That are these real problems that you want to solve for your network? Are these real requirements or made up? Are the real requirements actually missing? Is what the standard saying actually net operators reality? How difficult would it be to deploy this? How will I be able to debug this? So these are the questions, I think, where you guys have the expertise, and your inputs would have a huge impact in the direction of standard making. But I do realize that participation in ITF is challenging. It takes a lot of time. Everything is done on emails. The meetings are long. And I think time is the most important factor where we feel this thing. But I started into ITF, and I've seen other people started into it. The time that you put into this is very fulfilling as well. Talk to me, and if you want to participate, we have folks who can help you. And find some times, maybe start small rather than taking the whole ITF work as one go. ITF culture sometimes is seen as not too welcoming. Of course, things are changing. Every organization, including NOX, APNEC, have all been working towards improving our culture. And that has happened in ITF as well. But operators' inputs are, some people perceive are not welcome, but that's so far away from truth. Please come, experience it and participate. Money could be an issue where attending meetings can be costly, but these days remote participation is completely free, and remote participation has improved many folds, where remote participation is no longer a second-class citizen here, and you will see that free participation is possible. Awareness, well, that's why we are here. We are hoping that by doing this session, I'm creating some awareness in the operator community, and we will seal that there is worth participation. I did talk about why it is relevant to operators. So now a few tips that I can give. I think start small, join the mailing list, pick 1 or 2 key areas. Everybody likes IPv6, BGP, DNS. These are the hot topics. Pick one of those, pick a working group, join the mailing list. Sometimes mailing list joining itself is a problem because of the amount of traffic on it. You can use the digest mode. You can in fact use IMAP where you don't even subscribe to the mailing list, but just whenever you are free and you want to look at the mail, you can look at through an IMAP server. Just start reviewing stuff and provide inputs with your operator hat on, because that's what everybody does care and crave for at the ITF. Remote meetings are completely free, can be free if you want. So there is a fee waiver that you can apply as a remote participant. It's easily available on the ITF website. I have put a link as well. And then there are a lot of operator sessions like IPG, which is completely focusing on operators' inputs and operators' difficulty in deploying ITF protocols. So there are a lot of good sessions at ITF. I mentioned about the links. These are the links. And now let me just give you a very quick info of which are the key area of interest and which are the working groups that might interest you guys. From pure operational point of view, I talked about IPG. There is also Ops Area Working Group, IoT Operations, V6 Works. There are 2 working groups, one focusing completely on the operation sides, which is called V6 Ops, and then some enhancements of IPv6, which is IPv6 maintenance. BGP, there is GROW, which is completely operations, IDR, which is the protocol, and CIDR, which is about the security feature in IDR. DNS, again, there is a DNS op focusing only on the operational side. There is DNSSD. IRTF is the research arm of ITF. And in fact, this time there is a workshop that is happening, where you will see a lot of interesting papers. So if you have a research organization within your this thing where folks are looking far ahead, that they can participate in IRTF. And in fact, IRTF are fun because ITF and IRTF happens together, and the research community get inputs from the engineering community immediately, and which is kind of very fun to see, and which is kind of unique feature of an ITF meeting. And of course, there is measurement related stuff. Some hot topics, since I see that I'm coming towards my time slot, so I'll try to quickly go over these. So I've listed some very key technology topics that are happening right now in this ITF. The MPLS header, which has been the same for such a long time, is finally going through some changes. It is getting sort of an extension header kind of feel from IPv6 into MPLS. So that work has started. So if you care about this, come and participate. IDR is looking at interdomain intent-aware routing using color. So these are called colored routes, sort of like seamless MPLS, but adding coloring into it so that you can give different intent, like least delay, least cost path, getting influence from network slicing itself. And again, 5G ITF network slicing work is happening. A lot of IPv6 extension header work, things like why they don't work, what can we do to improve them, a lot of measurements. In transport, of course, quick L4S remains to be some of the key hot topic. In fact, what happens is sometimes these working groups have been running for such a long time, and participation in them could be a little bit tricky. In fact, new work is much more fun sometimes to participate, because people are still talking about problem statement rather than document updates. And people are not talking about a standards which has been making for 5 years, and now they are talking about 1 bit position here and there. When you want to look at things at a meta level, I think starting at new work in ITF could be very interesting. And this time, there are a lot of them to pick from. There is stub network for IPv6, how to auto-configure them much more easily. This is again very operational related work rather than protocol. UPF have been a way for source route address validation. There have been some issues with RPF, so people are looking at how it can be enhanced. Quick, there was a person talking about Quick from the Google. There is now more work.
Time is up.
Yes, I have one more slide and I'm done. So this is media over Quick, and then there is secure asset transfer protocol. These are security related stuff, a lot of interesting one. And then one last one that I want to highlight is multicast source routing over IPv6. I think industry had a huge impact with SR and SRv6. Now multicast source routing on native IPv6 is the new work that is starting. So these are a lot of good things that are happening in the upcoming ITF. Please come and participate. We in fact have a local organization called IISOC, which has been working in increasing participation from our region. We are here to help. This is our website. Please reach out. And I would like to see more operators participate. The ITF is starting next week, and do register. And off to you. Sorry for taking a few more minutes, extra minutes.
Thank you. I will allow for one question. If anybody has a question, you can come up to the mics there in the middle of the room. Any questions for Dur? If not, thank you very much, Dur.
Thank you.
Appreciate the knowledge here on the ITF. And yes, ITF can be fun. For operators there, and the IDR working group is especially an interesting one. So we have the next speaker here, Anand Raje. And Anand, I think if you can come up here. Anand is from the India Internet Foundation. Is based out of Calcutta and runs the Calcutta IX. He's the co-founder and CTO of India Internet Foundation, and he's been in this industry for more than 10 years. Anand?
Yeah, thank you for having me for SANOG 38. And it's a pleasure introducing a project over here, Advanced Internet Operations Research in India. So we are a couple of researchers who we are trying to research on internet resilience, kind of routing detours, secure DNS resolution, and internet peering and interconnection issues. We found there were issues in our country and in this region, and there were some measurement practices available across the world, like RIPE Atlas, and other organizations are also coming up with measurement platforms. But we have seen very less deployment of that, and we have come across and we have developed a measurement platform, and I'm trying to deliver something about that platform over here. So this is a measurement platform developed completely open source platform, and there are three aspects of it. The first one is how to use that platform, how we have developed it, and what it will be used for. So I will be more focused on what it can be used for. And the first thing that I would like to add upon is why we have not used RIPE Atlas. RIPE Atlas is also there, and other measurement platforms are also there. So we have seen there is very less deployment in India. The second thing is we have tried to get in touch, and we tried to have more deployments for our study purposes, but we failed. And the third problem was we wanted to have more measurements in our network. So any new command we want to measure, it should be a week's time that we can in the command into that measurement platform, and we can measure anything. But it was not possible with RIPE Atlas platform. With AORI, what we have developed is kind of a platform which is very open source, works on open source model. It takes a week time to just start developing a measurement, and it's a complete CI/CD pipeline, and we can deploy and all things are developed using microservices. We can deploy it in a week's time, and the measurement is up and running. So that's one thing that has been there in the AORI. The second thing that is quite different from other measurement platforms is it is also having a CD and an Anycast model. So if you are listening to my session, you can also go to aiori.in, which is the interface for this measurement platform. And you can see that where from it is serving. So both clubbed together, we have tried to get a measurement platform which is acting upon both sides, edge environment and also the server and the cloud environment. So right now, this particular platform is we are having 5 root servers. So these measurement platforms are also, we have implemented L-root Anycast instances over there. Some DNS zones also there. So it is a CDN which could be implemented in an IX, in an ISP, and we are trying to measure the performance over there. So we are having 5 Anycast instances, 85 anchors, and around 180 plus community members. As you can see in the slide, the first thing that you will see in the ARI.in website is kind of a latency meter. In that latency meter, you will see Kolkata, Guwahati, Bangalore, Mumbai, and Mohali are 5 Anycast locations, and where from you are serving, getting served. We're trying to see that with DNS and other peering platforms and interconnection platforms, whether you are being served from very lowest latency and geographically how near from you are getting served. And this particular data is giving us some insight into the next generation of internet platforms which are being developed across for CDNs, edge computing, and other environments. For this, we are having 5 Anycast instances across India, and we are trying to have more Anycast instances in IX peering platforms and also ISPs and other data centers. There are 85 anchors deployed in IPv6 and IPv4 networks. The green ones are the IPv4 networks, and the orange one was IPv6 network. So we are trying to distinguish IPv4 and IPv6 network. There is a plan to also distinguish in which kind of network they are, whether they are from ISP network, they are in academia, they are in kind of local enthusiast or some other networks, so that we can differentiate where these anchors are located. One of the kind of use cases that we are trying to achieve is routing data forensics. With RIPE Atlas, what was not possible was you cannot do a measurement from anchor to anchor network. But here the possibility is there. One anchor is acting as a probe and also an intelligent agent, wherein it subscribes to some measurement and it publishes some measurement, and it can be given a unique private IP as well as a public IP. So anchor to anchor measurement using a zone can also be served, and we can do that kind of forensics. So measurement service latency that is there available in other measurement platforms also. Here what we have done is there are some ICMP blockage issues we have found in some services. So we have used ICMP, as well as we have gone ahead and tried to use other layer platforms, other layer protocols like HTTP and HTTPS, and we're trying to get the latency of that particular service. In that way, we have found that there is some threshold increase in the latency because of the layer. So that also is a very key research that we are going forward. Like with that latency, this is something, the graph that can be presented.
5 minutes.
Okay. With this latency, this graph can be presented, wherein we can see that where from this is served, what is the routing detours and all, and what are the latency over there. This particular platform is also capable of having DNS resiliency from user endpoint. Like whenever you are, your user is trying to get your service, what DNS resiliency at the root level, at the TLD zone level, at the authoritative zone level is there. Because this platform is made out of microservices, we are trying to get any kind of measurement possible over here. This is something a DNSSEC visualization we have created. So this kind of visualization can be created and added by the academic research networks. This is something a DNS health measurement from a geographic region. So these are some of the measurements which can be carried out by this platform. One of the key things over here is we have done a gamification over here. If you install an anchor, you get points and you can start doing your measurements. So it is up to the NOC community, the academia and researchers who can contribute and who can participate in this measurement network. So these are some of the things which is one part of this project. We are trying to get into this. One thing that I will just end up with is this AIORI.in is something which is a domain, but actually it can be abc.np. It can be anything dot anything, and we can measure that, because this is something which is in a CDN, and you can actually understand where you should place your content and how this could be measured, and it would be an effective implementation of and the state of internet. So we have tried and it is just started, and we want your support. Thank you. I can take a question. Oh, sorry.
Yep. Yep, I am Dave from APNIC. I have a question. What hardware are you building these on?
Yeah, so it's a private, so from infrastructure perspective, it's a private cloud on Linux hypervisors, and Docker Swarm we are using as an orchestration tool. And upon that, we are having Python VMs and Docker Swarm cluster and all are microservices.
What about the probes themselves, the anchors?
Nat.io. So this is something we have not used MQTT. We are using nats.io.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Yeah. There are no other questions. Thank you. The next speaker here is Ms. Mainali from Nepal Telecommunications Authority. I think it's back here, so I'll walk here. Mr. Mainali has been with, is the Deputy Director of the Service Quality Standardization Section at the Nepal Telecommunications Authority. He's been with NTA for more than 5 years, but he has spent more than 12 years in our industry. Mr. Mainali. His topic is going to be QoS in Nepal.
Okay, thank you, Gaurav, sir. I'm really honored to be here in SANOG 38. So my name is Dinesh and I work at Nepal Telecommunication Authority. I'm here to present you a short introduction about Nepal telecom market. And then after, I will give you some glimpse of legal provisions for quality of service. And then I'll talk about some challenges that are faced by operators and regulators, and then I'll talk about some initiatives taken by the regulators, ENTs. The slide is not moving. Yeah, pointer. I'm pressing the pointer. That's not it. Thank you. So as we all know that we are in information society, and in this society, the use of ICT and telecommunication services has been more useful, and we've been using these services more than ever. Before pandemic, in pandemic and after pandemic, the use of ICT for Nepalese people was in very significant amount. So in that period of time, the mobile import, including the tablet devices, were very high. And we can see that these the devices are used for the ICT services. So we can say that these devices are used for trading, educations, and health. So we have witnessed the uses of ICT in cross-cutting sectors. So we can see that the ICT tools or ICT are acting as a key enabler for the socioeconomic development for the cross-cutting sectors. And referring to the MIS data of last 3 months, we can say that the teledensity of mobile subscription, it has surpasses 145% of the total populations, and there is a study, it shows that every 10% increment in teledensity of data, it will enhance the 1.3% of GDP of that nation. So we can see that our economy has also been driven by the ICT uses. And Nepal government has also adapted, has also accepted or admitted this, that the uses of ICT is crucial for the socio-economic development for the different sectors. So in 15th National Plan, the government has set an aim of prosperous Nepal, happy Nepali, and the government of Nepal has identified 8 sectors and 80 initiatives. And these initiatives are backed up by the Digital Nepal framework, and the ICT is working as the enabler for getting those targets. So before that, we have some policy for the proliferations of ICT in Nepali market. So there were telecom policy 2060 with amendment 2069, broadband policy 2071, ICT policy 2072, and we have Digital Nepal framework that is currently going on. And besides regulation, the NTA is also doing the advisory job to government that gives advices on telecommunication sector for the government in Nepal. So we are doing some studies on recent emerging technologies like 5G. We are doing some 5G trials, and we are building some optical networks throughout the country with the help of our operators. And we have built some regulation framework for IoT, and we have also prepared some policies for the proliferation of AI in our country. So this is the glimpse statistics of market, Nepal telecoms market. So we can see that there are 6 voice operators, 4 mobile network operators, 135 ISPs, and 21 NSPs. So basically 95% of the market shares are occupied by the 2 operators, MNOs, NTC and Ncell. And we can say that there are 2 predominant operators in Nepal. So 95% of share belongs to them. So we can see here in services sections, there are 145% of population. The teledensity of voice service is 145%, more than 145% of the population. And more than 142% belongs to mobile voice service. And we still can see that in the slide, the broadband internet is of 128.86 teledensity. It is 188.86. It is the subscription-based value, and we can see that most of these comprises of the mobile broadband network. So this particular slide shows the service growth over the 12 years. So we can see that except these fixed services, mobile and data services has increased rapidly. So the mobile services has increased over the 12 years, increased around 600%, and data usage has been around 45 folds. So we can see that the Nepalese people are using the ICT services in very good amount. So this is the current statistic of market shares of operators technology-wise. So we can see that the NDCL, Nepal Dursanchar Company Limited, this is the primary operator which has more broadband shares in the market. So this is 2G, 3G, and 4G service coverage map of Nepal. Since 2G is a legacy network and it uses 900 and 1800 band, we can see that the 2G coverage is quite more than other services. We also know that more than 83% of the land of Nepal is mountainous and hilly regions. So to deploy the network in every nooks and corners of the country is quite impossible. Let's not say impossible. It's very hard for operators to deploy the networks in every part of the country because of the difficult terrain. So 2G is a legacy network. That's why its coverage is better. And 3G, you can see that it has a good coverage in a low region, that is the plain region, Tarai region, and it has a satisfactory in hilly region, and not so good coverage in mountain regions. The same case is also in 4G. So this slides gives you a glimpse of the infrastructure, telecom infrastructure. We can see that the NTC is also it is also here in the first position in fiber optic network. Yes, we can see that it has more than 7,000 kilometers of fiber optics. Besides our licenses, there is Nepal Electricity Authority with its OPGW. It has a great fiber optic network throughout the country. So operator uses VSAT client because of this difficult terrain. They use VSAT technology as the access method for network. So we can see that there are some VSAT terminals for all those operators, and there is microwave link for backhauling. In every places that it's not possible to have a optical backbone, and we know that with the use of microwave link, there will be limited in bandwidth. So there is BTS tower data. You can see that there is the tower technology wise as well. So this till now I have talked about the coverage and accessibility of the telecommunication services. So let's now talk about quality of service. So quality of service means it is the totality of characteristics of a telecommunication service that bears on its ability to satisfy stated and implied needs of the user of the services. In order to satisfy the customer needs, we generally have some technical or objective parameters like jitter, latency, right, throughput. But in today's world, it's more about satisfying the customer. Not only there is not only the objective parameter, there are some subjective parameters also. You need to satisfy the customer. So quality of experience has been it has been a major issue nowadays. So you need to satisfy the customer in other subjective parameter as well, like customer support, right, and promptness to answer their queries, and some promptness to respond or resolve their issues. So this particular figure describes how this quality of service depends on, right? We can see that when a customer buys a particular services, it follows the trends, right? It follows the advertisement, or it follows the marketing, and it also have some expectation based on its tariff. And this customer expectation is built upon the trend that is being used in that particular area, marketing strategy and tariff. And customer builds its expectation and it buys the service, right? And it is expect that the customer satisfaction, customer's expectation will be met as per its requirement, right? So in order to fulfill the customer satisfaction, we do have two aspects. First one is technical aspect, another non-technical aspect. So in technical aspect, we can have these technical KPIs. We can maintain this KPI up to that threshold to meet the customer satisfaction level. So in non-technical aspects, there is about customer support, promptness to answer the questions, and how you handle the customer. These things also comes in quality of experience. It is the non-technical aspect of QAs. So, 2 minutes. Sorry. So let's talk about legal provisions related to QAs. We do have a QAs bylaw that has been formulated based on this Telecommunication Act 2053. In this bylaw, we have a provision of regular monitoring the service delivered by the operator in every quarter. So we also do a sampling basis monitoring, and we often publish the result of those tests, and we issue clear instructions for compliance of those KPI. If they don't comply within the given period of time, we do have a provision of penalties, and in extreme cases, cancellation of license as well. So these are voice related KPIs. We can see that these are some KPIs, and some KPIs are not met in rural areas, and we are also in a process of revising those KPIs for rural areas as well. So this is the KPIs for data services. You can see this, you can find also this in our website. So the QS issue in broadband internet. Generally, in today's world, in today's time, the Nepalese people are generally have issue with ISP, that they are selling their internet on opt-to basis, right? And they think that they have been cheated, and they don't know about fair usage policy. Our customer they do have some digital illiteracy. And also, when we have checked the bandwidth, we found there is some disparity between the actual bandwidth and the cheap bandwidth, right? So the ISP need to make aware to their customers about the SLAs that they do while selling the bandwidth. So these are some challenges for both operators and regulators. So we do have difficult terrain, because of which network rollout is very difficult. There are many rural areas because of which there is no economic viability, and there is no good rate of return, and the lack of inter-organization coordinations. Our ISPs are using other infrastructure like NES, OPGW for delivering their internet service, and because of this lack of interconnection, lack of inter-organization coordination, they are getting many troubles, and some lack of infrastructure. We can see that in mountainous area there are no electricity, because of which the BTS power is not available every time. They need to rely on solar power. So there is affordability questions also. We are a developing country. We do have low GDP. Because of that also, we do have some challenges about this thing. And consumer awareness, low digital literacy, as well as there is a digital divide. Because of this, they don't know, the customer doesn't know the TNC and other things of ISPs as well. So NTA's recent steps that to maintain the quality of service. Accessibility. For accessibility, we are using our RTTF font to maintain this broadband access network as well as backbone network. And for service monitoring, we have built this NTA speed test app that can be used by every user to check their quality of service. And we have made mandatory this customer portal for MRTG. We are doing regular QS measurement for drive test. Recently, we have done drive test for province 1, Madhya and Gandaki. And for customer support, we have complaint handling system, and we have provision of toll-free number, provision of automatic ticketing system as well. So we have, in future, we have a plan to procure benchmarking tool and probing-based QS measurement system. That will be processed this fiscal year. In regulation aspects, we have QS regulation framework for 4G and 5G service. We have recently developed this framework, and we have issued SOPs, standing operation procedure for drive test and OSS-based QS measurement system. We are about to issue SOP to assess fixed broadband internet, and we have already issued the CPE guidelines, this router guidelines recently, and we are in the process of revising the QS bylaw. And for customer awareness, we are doing some interaction program all over the network. So if you do have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Dinesh. As usual, questions of their name and introduce yourself, please, and then there you go. Thank you.
Your last slide said you have made it mandatory to provide MRTG in the customer portal. Is it for like retail users?
Every user should have facility to access to the MRT. And is it like it is mandatory?
Okay, and that goes back to what, 1 month, or is it the duration for which they need to?
The customer portal is live, right? So they can choose the period by themselves, and they can use their MRT.
It's interesting. Most of portals I've seen, they just put carry the aggregate data. So graph would be interesting.
Thank you, Anurag. I see someone over there.
Hello, sir. This is me, Rajiv Sarvasi. So my question is basically regarding the transmission opportunity violation that we have seen in some of single band routers. So are you in the process to check the quality of this router that operators are selling in market, whether they are complying with the TX transmission opportunity and EFCA related parameters, because the observation that we have found across many operators that I will not put out the names here, but what we have found in observation is once that type of TP runs in the premises of customers, there are other signal band cities in the closed area. Mostly that type of CPs are entirely occupying whole spectrum and not providing the different amount of transmission opportunity on the route. Are you aware of this one?
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Yeah, we know that the problem you have stated, we know that things we are, I have recently mentioned in the slide that we have issued some CP guidelines, right? So in CP guidelines, we have stated the specifications that is required by the ISPs while selling these routers to the home users, right? So they, and also that there is a type approval mechanism. In that mechanism, we also inspect some quality of the routers that are being imported to Nepal. So there are some specific, some rules, some regulations for that need to be abided by the importer in order to bring that things, right? So we are here to maintain the quality based on the CP devices as well, right? We don't want the quality to be hampered because of the poor quality of CP devices. So we have recently issued a CP devices guidelines. You can see that.
No, this is
Excuse me,
question. Yes,
because we are tight on time, I suggest that we take this offline and have a discussion later on.
So we can discuss outside.
Thank you for the question. Thank you, Dinesh, for your wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. The next speaker for this session is Mr. Bimlesh Jha from Nepal Telecom. His presentation is fiber infrastructure deployment and challenges in Nepal. Bimlesh ji has been around for a long time. He told me 26 years since he's been in the industry. Bimlesh is also one of the founding members from Nepal Telecom for NPIX. So I've known him, I don't know, wait long. So Bimlesh was also very instrumental in bringing internet in Nepal Telecom long time ago. I don't know what he does now, but he'll talk about fiber infrastructure deployment. I think that's what he does.
Thank you, Gauraji. Yes. So I have 19 years I have experience in the, especially in the internet departments. But from the last 5 years, I was out of Kathmandu also. And from the last 1 year, I am working as a manager in the optical fiber project department. So we have some issue based on the case studies which we have found the last 1 year. Based on that, I have some small presentation. So fiber infrastructure development in backbone aggregation. So these are the topics. Don't take more time. Okay. So not coming on the page. Okay. So backbone, we right now the telecom landscape, telecom industries experience exponential growth of the data as well as the quality of service by the use of the optical fiber. So once we use the optical fiber in the say, customer end, we see in the last decade, the internet traffic has exponential growth, and that can be only possible using the optical fiber. Previously, we have used, telecom industry has used the many phases and face the transformation in the many phases, but by the use of the optical fiber, we have seen that in the last decade, there is a tremendous traffic generated on the client side. And nowadays, the primary network, we see the optical fiber is the primary network and the communication media for the this in the telecom industry. And we use the optical medium as a backbone and aggregation and in the access layer also. So total, we see the in the backbone and aggregation layer, nearly telecom have the nearly 10,000 plus kilometers, 10,000 plus kilometer used optical fiber as a backbone and aggregation. So under the 7 telecom development project, we have the 23. It has been started in 2002. So it's a 2,000 kilometer plus. OPGW 4,000 kilometer plus. It's a single port. We have procured from the NEA. Then ADSS. So under the aerial fiber category, we have used the two type of fibers, OPGW and ADSS. ADSS also use the optical NEA electricity pole, and OPGW also use the NEA electricity pole. So total underground fiber is in the aggregation and port, it's a more than 3,000 kilometers. Similarly, ADSS also have the 3,000 kilometers plus and 1,000 in the pipeline. So in near future, it will come, the total will be 7,000 kilometers. In the access network, I think it's the old slide. It's not updated. It's an old slide. Yes. We have NEA have the charge for the single core. So we have single core per kilometer. They have the charge. So we procure based on the single core, how many kilometers. Yeah. In the practical use, we use the dual core. Some vendor use the single core based on the SAP. Yeah.
So cable is
Yeah, I'm Rajesh from India. Sir, do you have a structured ROW policy in place in Nepal? Because we are in India, we are also struggling with the policy.
We are facing same challenges here also.
Yes, because there are multiple stakeholders and everyone having their own interpretation.
Yes, they are also facing same problem.
So are you working on that?
Yes, we are requesting our regulatory to working on that.
Okay, so both of us are on the same page.
Yes. Okay, so as a transmission medium, mostly we are using the telecommunications, 4G, wireless, satellite, and fiber. Nowadays, we are focus on the fiber network. So fiber already we have already explained that 7,000 kilometers nearly in the edge and backbone we are using. In the access layer, we have total 10,000 plus kilometers and to nearly 2,000 kilometer UG and aerial is 10,000 kilometers. So it's a 12,000 kilometer. In total, Nepal Telecom is using 23,000 plus kilometer optical fiber as a whole. Some status on the RTDF for the fiber development project. Nepal Telecom Authority has invested some RTDF fund. So they have the two projects. It's a super highway, information super highway and access broadband network. So based on this, it's a total near about 6,000 kilometers. Okay. So in the province 1, 2, 3, so total Nepal has the 7 provinces, including all they have the requirements of the near about 6,000 plus kilometers fiber. But in the province 4 and 5, this is due to some other reasons that is in the code. So due to some other reason that is not started. 1, 2, 3, and 6, 7 work is already started, and we in this 4,000 kilometers nearly we have completed 3,000 kilometers already completed and are in operation. Using these fiber, total 72 district headquarters is already connected. So Nepal total 77 districts out of 77 districts, 72 districts is already connected headquarters. 5 districts out of 5 remaining 5 districts. This fiscal year we are planning for to cover the 4 districts. So it will be 76. Broadband access network approximately using this RTDF funds 16,000 house. Means community, school, VDC, municipality, health of post, including all, there are 16,000 coverage. This is the slide for the connectivity. So in Nepal, there is a no common infrastructure sharing company. All vendors, all operators using their own optical fiber. So Nepal Telecom, Yancell, NEA, and all ISPs, they have the parallel network in the same physical routes. Including all, we don't get the exact total fiber kilometers. So total fiber kilometers, we cannot find the exact data, but we have found that the 100,000 kilometers plus, 100,000 kilometer plus fiber is. Based on this, we have mainly focus on the some deployment and operational challenges we are facing. So complete fiber network. Complete fiber network is divided into 3 portions: planning and network design, construction and operation. All these phases. So all these phases we have some challenges. In the technical challenges, we are facing the 75% of the terrain is hilly area and mountainous area. So it's very difficult to lay the fibers or deploy the fibers in the hilly area. And what we have faced that the 60 to 80% of the construction cost is the civil works, duct and fiber cost. And so it's a very challenging to deploy the fiber in the hilly area, especially. Other is unprovisioned of the common utility corridor under the road project. So in Nepal, there is no common utility corridor or duct provisioned in the by the road departments. So that we have to lay, every operator have to lay their fiber, own subduct, duct, everything. Other thing is we are using the right of way. Road has decided separate or decided all operator has to use the ROW, right of way, for laying the fibers. But there is no clear policy regarding. So we are every times we are facing some problem in the right of way. Every operator use the right of way, but the other operator use the same right of way, there is no clear definition where will be the water supply, where will be the electricity, where will be the telecom. So we are getting the fiber cut problem. So there should be one clear guidelines for the use of the ROW, and nearly road has divided 1.5 meters to 2 meters. They have given the right of way, but we are still facing the fiber cut problem in the right of way. Another problem is the frequent fiber cut during the road expansion. So excavation work is going on always. It's a accidental somewhere, it's a knowingly, somewhere unknowingly. So during the road expansion, frequently we are getting the fiber cut problem. With the landslide also in the natural disaster, we see the landslide also every time we have to, in the rainy season, we face the fiber cut due to landslide. And another is the sharing of the right of way. So same right of way shared by the multiple entities like electricity for the pole erection, for the telecom, water supply, and every time we are facing the problem of the fiber cut. Similarly, we have some challenges in the regulatory challenges. That is the policy framework and guidelines for the deployment and management of the OFC. For the OFC, every operator laid or deployed their fibers based on their own comfort, because a standard and any guidelines is not defined by the regulatory. So based on their ambience and comfort level, they deployed their own fibers. So fiber is haphazardly. It's not in the standard process. So that will also create some technical challenges of the, and some technical challenges because the quality and the standard is not maintained, haphazardly it's deployed. So there should be also one guidelines, it will be better. And another thing, we don't have any national broadband network infrastructure sharing company. So our regulatory, just in the 278 or 77, they have infrastructure sharing policy. They have bring the infrastructure sharing policy. In that sharing policy, every operator, they can share their resources based on that policy, but there is a not separate company which builds the national broadband network, and that will be shared by all the operators. So one of the major challenges we are facing, that the common sharing infrastructure sharing company. Another we have faced in the administrative challenge. Administrative challenge, under the administrative challenge, first is Nepal Electricity Authority has the OPGW fiber, that is overhead line, and that is under the monopoly. So that tariff is not regulated. Tariff charged by the NEA is not regulated. And definitely that is one of the challenges for the telecom or all the operators we are facing, that the tariff is not regulated and that is under the monopoly. And another is permission of the right of way. To use the right of way, we have to take the permission from the road department, and that is also a longer process. This is only for the UG fiber. For the ADSS, we have to take the permission from the NEA, Nepal Electricity Authority, and that is also one of the challenges we are facing. And then another problem we are facing from the National Park and Wildlife Conservation departments. So in the jungle area, to deploy the fiber, we have to take the permission from the National Park and Wildlife Conservation. So these are the common challenges we are facing. Finally, we have some recommendation. So our requirement is highly available, reliable optical fiber. Our requirement, we want nationwide high availability, high reliability optical fiber networks. For that, some policy and legal framework that has to be developed by the regulatory. And so, and some in Nepal right now, everywhere road construction is going on. So for the right now, we have to depend on the definitely NEA OPGW is high quality transmission medium. So all the right now the east-west, all the Nepal Middle East-West fiber project that is under the Mahendra Rajmarg. So everywhere road construction is going on and UG fiber is damaged. So we have to depend on the OPGW line. So the tariff should be regulated of the NEA and remaining the NTA infrastructure company. Then definitely one guideline for the fiber infrastructure development. And there should be some coordination. We are also doing with the road department for the use of ROW, right of way. But we need some policy regarding the right of way. They have not standardized right now. So, but Nepal Telecom is working with the road department to standardize the use of the right of way, and some. So that is our final. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Anupam Agarwal from India Internet Foundation. A quick question. In one of the slides, you mentioned that a national infrastructure sharing company is one of the possible solutions. So, are you seeing this as a government company which is operating, or it's a private limited company which is going to share the fiber with all others?
We are not the government company. It might be a private company or government company, but it should be a common company that can provide the infrastructure. That will be better, because every operator has to lay their own fibers in the same road. That will create a bunch of fiber that is hanging on the pole. So it might be it's a private company or it's a government company.
Okay, thank you.
Now we come to our last speaker for the session and our closing keynote speaker. Our closing keynote speaker is Paul Joseph, and he is slide number 2. Talk more about
get paid. Not having a platform. And that is what I'm doing. So in fact, I'm very pleased to let you know by end of this year, we would have launched a neobank in the US that is going to sit on top of your infrastructure to help your customers in Nepal to receive money legitimately. So when Gaurav asked me, so Gaurav and I go a long way back. We're both big lovers of and fan of Mahavir Kun. That's how I met of him, right? And I've always appreciated what he's done. So he asked me to talk about this. And usually, if you look at banking world, the whole narrative is it's an app, and still it is a service. To me, and the journey that I took in this area was not because I wanted to provide banking service. I wanted to build a banking infrastructure for our today's generation to go borderless. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges we have. And I will guarantee you right now, I think that is also a biggest challenge you are going to have to provide enough internet for somebody living in, Biratnagar, enough bandwidth for them to work remotely. And I tell you, I am in the business of moving money. I do feel the pulse of the economy. And you know what? That economy is thriving. You are enabling that economy, right? So what is your strategy? What is your strategy? Are you just going to focus on making sure that there's an internet line? And that's what I would like to talk to you more about. Why not? Right? So usually people like us, we start with question. Would you have believed, raise your hand if somebody would have invested $100,000 in my company 10 years ago at a dingy office in Tamil, who said, you know what, why didn't you give me $100,000? I'm going to build an API to challenge Western Union. That's exactly what I do. So this is how it starts, right? Basically the questioning to challenge the status quo. And now this is the primary infrastructure that is going to enable that. But in Nepal, I would love to see a bundled services built on your infrastructure where just like how banking as a service today globally is aggregating each and every technologies, each and every financial services with it, that needs to basically do a digital money transfer transaction. I don't know any country in the world that has over 20 PSPs. How many PSOs do we have? Do we actually need that? You could actually create, why not an open internet? Open internet, somebody could build a simple Shopify like infrastructure, host it. Now, why don't you ask your own users, what are they doing to enable local transactions? And I will tell you, in 2003, I was delivering 1,000 deliveries a day. And how much money did I make? Not even a zero, because the infrastructure was not there. So why don't I see your infrastructure, you guys enabling somebody to sell products and services online? Why are they selling desperately in Instagram? Is Instagram prepared to manage, all the functions that is required for them to run an e-commerce business? I would ask that. Why is there not a local map hosted in your infrastructure where somebody could manage logistics properly? Why does it take 1.5 hours for somebody to receive a pizza that is going to be delivered from Food Market? Right? So I think it was an incredible opportunity for me to come out and share. Usually I'm a little bit of a hermit. I don't like really, coming out and talking, because I think right now the mission that I have been for the last 10 years have been very strenuous. We literally, so something I would like you all to understand is we literally challenge a 172-year-old regulation in the US started by Western Union to push cross-border money transfer banking, money transfer as a service. And it's possible because of your infrastructure. But I think right now, I'm sure all of you here, you basically are asked by your management about what is your customer lifetime value increasing strategy, right? What is your customer acquisition strategy? So in that case, would we see a future where an infrastructure like you providing more services? I would love to. So this is definitely an open call to you all. You want to provide cross-border payment receiving services on your infrastructure, somebody like I am is ready. It has to be a partnership, right? Why not a locally hosted digital map so that Foodmandu does not have to send money to Uncle Google in the US and look at the exchange rate right now. And I'm sure we're all feeling it, right? So I think your infrastructure can really, really, really enable that. And I think in a closing remark, all I really wanted to see is there a possibility of bundled services, bundled hyper local services? If you look into why Tootle had a problem, the answer is pretty obvious. They had to send money to Google, and it's pretty sizable for using their APIs. How can you make money as an NPR, right? How can you generate revenue in NPR and then basically have your expense in US dollars? That's definitely not feasible. So my message to you all, my request to you all, and I'm definitely up for collaboration. I think your infrastructure also needs to enable hyper local, hyper personal infrastructure for our local economy to go digital. Thank you so very much.
So very good, sir. Any questions for Bob or any other commentary there?
Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Extremely good keynote.
You need to introduce yourself.
Okay. This is Anupam Agarwal from India Internet Foundation. Extremely valuable keynote speech by you. Thank you so much for your thoughts. So this banking infrastructure which you are talking about, is it going not to face any regulatory challenge in terms of Nepal, and that is already taken care of?
So it's already taken care of. So I think so open API banking is fantastic, right? So I think the whole thing has designed so that not only regulatory challenges of Nepal, but regulatory challenges outside of Nepal is also taken care of. Yeah, I mean, I think I would love to see like, okay, right. So so what I'm really, I think the message that I wanted to give was, all right, you are in the homes and you're in the phones of everyone. But I think there's a way to have a bundled services there, right? So why not even forget only with the cross-border? So I'm focusing the cross-border. I'm not necessarily focusing the local. So I'm going to be enabling moving money from primarily US to Nepal. It doesn't really matter if it's a $1 or it doesn't matter if it's $100 million ticket. So we build a banking, infrastructure to move that money. And but like here locally too. So there are so many PSPs, so many PSOs companies. So why is that service bundled within your network? And I think the reach would probably be, which would probably escalate if those services were to be.
This thought of yours on bundling of services.
No, my pleasure.
Any other questions there for Bob? He finished his like well before time. So I have a question. Do you still sell goats?
So here's the interesting story, and it's a real story, and I'm literally not bullshitting you. So what happened, I think the goat story became so viral around the world. We're talking about the year 2001, when the internet was trying to figure out what to do with, when the world was trying to figure out what to do with the internet. And then here were a bunch of people running in Goat Bazaar, 16 kbps modem, 5 Pentium 5, computers, and digital camera was not even launched. Right? And that is how we actually did it. And then I think you'd be very interested to know is, so the whole model was somebody actually was just simply paying for it. It was a fintech venture. It was never a goat selling venture. So somebody And believe it or not, actually, we had customers from 30 different countries around the world. So they would pay it online. And one of the reasons I had to move to US was to set up a company so that we could just receive those payments. And then, so they would pay it and we would actually have it delivered over here. But, it was really interesting transformation to see how people were beginning to perceive internet, Just before then, there was a very famous movie actress. Her body was propped. I mean, her face was propped on top of a naked body. So people were really, they had a really whole strange, like feeling towards putting something on the internet. Just to answer your question now is, no, we stopped selling goats in 2007, and guess what happened? The whole news became so viral for next, we did it in 2001, 2002, 2003, and 2004. I was hosted by heads of state in many countries around the world, just to kind of tell you the story about it. And it got, and it got so famous, actually, I think there's case studies written about in Santa Clara, Stanford, Georgetown, and many other universities around the world. Okay. And then when the story hit Europe, it went crazy. The Europeans hated it. So I would have a bunch of people in the same protest, and I used to get 3,000 hate emails per hour. Yeah. So it was all about animal abuse, right? And then, so same thing was happening. And then what really happened was I was in US one time around the same when Kashi, it was a big business, I tell you, we sold in hundreds and thousands of business, right? Dollars worth of, the Kashi. So it was a big business. So it was not like we sold two and, we exaggerated. So what happened was one of the reasons that we shut it down was I had nightmare where these bloody Kashis were chasing me every freaking night. It was just one single night. And one fine day in the darshan, and I'm not bullshitting you again. So we obviously had kashi for dinner. Next morning, I woke up with really, really bad allergies. And I ended up in emergency in Portland, Oregon. And that was when I said, you know what, maybe the God's trying to tell me something. Maybe I should focus on moving money. And so we did. So that was a fun story. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much. Thank you to Bob, and thank you to all the speakers for this session. Now we are coming to the sort of closing part of this. We will start by thanking our speakers. Rupesh, want to come up here? Of course, events like this don't happen if we don't get sponsors. And we've been fortunate to have a lot of ongoing regular sponsors. And some of our sponsors have continued to sponsor SANOG even when we're virtual for the last 2.5 years. So thank you very much for all of our sponsors. Also hope that they continue to sponsor so that we can bring the people together and the continued thing. So I'm gonna call the sponsors and supporters here and would request Rupesh to hand off the a token of appreciation. So I'll start with our supporting organizations. Nepal Telecommunications Authority, NTA, has been a biggest supporter for us. I think Umesh is here. CAN Federation. CAN Federation. Sumanji. CAN Federation. CAN Federation, Sumanji, yeah. This was the Nepal Internet Foundation. Nepal Internet Foundation, Amarji. This was the Nepal Research and Education Network, NREN. NREN, Internet Foundation, ISP Association of Nepal, ISPAN. Sudhirji, very Sudhir. Yep.
Then we have our diamond sponsor, APNIC. Then we have our gold sponsors, AWS, Internet Society, Naveed, okay, Google, Meta, and NSRC. Thank you, Rupesi. Google, Meta, and NSRC. I think Philip. Sorry. Thank you, Basic. Now, I'd actually, this is not just SANOG. We keep on saying SANOG 38, but this is also jointly a NPNOG 6. And NPNOG is the local NOG. And I'd like to request the chairman of NPNOG come up here for the rest of the sponsors gift. I start with our social dinner sponsor, Nokia. I think we had someone from here from Nokia or Newtrade. Nokia or Nokia localized Newtrade. Silver sponsor, Equinix. Bronze sponsor, Juniper. Targus. Anyone from Juniper Targus? One, okay. Worldlink Communications. Worldlink Communications. Now we'll continue this. Of course, the sponsors give us the money, so it is the important part of it. But also speakers provide all the content. And that is why we are all here, is to listen to our speakers. So I'll go through the program here. Or maybe I got the wrong phone. So I'd like to Samit to continue on for a few more speakers. Welcome speaker was Samit Jana. So we had the morning keynotes, Mr. Manor Vatrai and Rennie. They are both not here, so we'll skip over that. The first speaker I would like to invite is our closing keynote, Baal Joshi. Then I invite Raju Chalise from Worldlink. Pubudu from APNIC. Sawen Ma from Google. I think she was removed or was removed. Philip Smith. Then we had the chair of the session, Endeavor. Then we have Indra Raj Basnet. Endeavor. Then we have Vivek from APNIC, Vivek Nigam from APNIC. And then we have Divya Khativara running the peering personals. Divya. Then we have Anand Raje. Thank you, Samit, for doing this. Oh, yeah, of course. I would like to request Dr. Philip Smith, the chair of the PC, to come and do the honors for the other speakers. So, thank you, Samit. So, Mr. Dinesh Mainali, the speaker. Mr. Dimlecha. DKICS. We also had, we already covered this years. I only see. Oh, Vivek is here. Oh. Oh, Vivek was also a speaker. Yep, Vivek. Vivek's from, okay, I think we have. Where's Pugulu? It's fine. Thank you to the Lucas, Samit, and Philip. And now I hand it off to Rupesh. Thank you.
So we'll hand over the token of appreciation to Gaurav for moderating this session. Thank you, Gaurav, for moderating.
Okay. Okay, now Rupesh would do the.
Okay. Finally, this will be the last presentation, I believe. Can turn on the Thank you. This is the last presentation. I'm
and I'm standing in between the dinner and this presentation. So okay, I'm just quickly going to give the SANOG update. As I've mentioned earlier in the morning as well, SANOG since 2003, we've been doing events in various countries in South Asia, and this is the 38th edition of SANOG. Now, quick introduction. I think a lot of people do not need an introduction on SANOG. SANOG was started to bring together operators for educational as well as cooperation. A lot of blah, 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 blah are there, but basically I'll just quickly skip to the last point. It is non-commercial people, not networking platform. Okay, so whatever learning we do, whatever things we do is basically non-commercial learning platform where people network. Brief format, South Asian Network Operators Group. We do 2 in-person events every day, one during the January and another one July. We move around South Asia. Except we are yet to visit Maldives and Afghanistan. Standard program is basically 2 to 3 days of workshop. 2 to 3 days of conference and tutorial, and 5 days of workshop. But this time is an exception. Since we were coming back from the online conference, online event, with this time we did only 4 days of workshop and 1 day of conference. But going forward, we'll go back to our standard 8 days of event. How do we participate in SANOG, and who are the SANOG people in SANOG? We all are part of the SANOG committee. Basically, we have 2 main committees. One is program committee, another is fellowship committee, which usually drives the event. We do have a core committee as well. So in program committee, we have Dr. Philip Smith, Simon Burroy, and Thelina from Sri Lanka. Lot of committee members. Some of the people ask me like, why my presentation is not accepted. These are the people. So, okay. Again, some of the people ask me why my fellowship application was not accepted. These are the people. So, it goes through a lot of reviews. A lot of experts review that, so that the people who come over here, or the presentation that's put in on the screen is interesting enough for the audience. SANOG Fellowship Committee is headed by Rajiva from Sri Lanka, and a lot of other people. Thank you, everybody, because this time also we had around 90 to 100 presentations, fellowship applications, in spite of a very short timeline that we had given this time. And then each of the fellowship committee member had to review all the applications, the answers that is written by all the applicants. So after reviewing all those applications, we select the fellowship. As I mentioned earlier, first SANOG, we started in 23rd to 28th of January 2003. It was during the Computer Association of Nepal's IT conference event. And then subsequently, it was done in Sri Lanka, Bangalore, again back in Nepal. And it went around, and we expanded to Bhutan, and then went to Mumbai, and so on. Initial SANOG workshop. Basically, we started workshop. The first SANOG, we only had conference. So second SANOG onwards, we had workshop, which our dear Dr. Philip Smith started at a routing workshop, as he repeatedly was telling earlier during his presentation on routing table, that in spite of all these trainings and also all the workshops, still there are things that he still needs to, people are not following the best practices. So SANOG 3, we had one track on the BGP multi-homing workshop, again conducted by Dr. Philip Smith and Srinath. And the incentive that time, I believe, from Dr. Philip might be able to tell, was to give out the orally books, which was very popular at that time. And then just by that incentive, people will attend workshop. Second track was on DNS and DNSSEC. We have total 38 events so far. 2 events were basically co-hosted along with Apricot, and 2 events, last 2 events was online due to COVID-19 pandemic. So we have hosted an event in 6 different countries, in different cities of East. Total fellowship awarded so far is 441. 2 events were hosted along with Apricot, where the fellowship was not applicable. Total number of workshop tracks conducted, 95 workshop tracks conducted so far. Total number of workshop participants, 2,850. Major workshop track topic, there were 14 major workshop tracks. The most popular one is obviously BGP and IPv4, V6 routing. Second to that is network security, and after that, DNSSEC, and after that, MPLS, and things like that, and so on. As I said, I mean, we go around different cities of South Asia, but most of the time, 11 times we've done that in India, 7 times in Nepal, and 5 times. 5 times we've done in Bangladesh and Pakistan each, and Bhutan and Sri Lanka 4 times each. So upcoming event, we are yet to decide on that. That's yet to be decided. Because of various situations in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Bhutan, we're still contemplating on whether the event will be. So we're coordinating with the local host over there. Future plans for SANOG is to build a stronger relationship with the national NOGs. Of course, I mean, all the countries now have, all the South Asian countries have their local NOGs. India has INOG, Sri Lanka has LKNOG, Bhutan has BTNOG, Bangladesh has BDNOG, Nepal has NTNOG. So, and also stronger cooperation with other regional NOGs and international community stakeholders. We also plan to assist for greater regional instructor exposures, build a stronger community around network operators, and stronger communication and relationship with fellows. Thank you very much for your time. Before I end today's session, I would also like to give a vote of thanks officially, so as to say, but I think with the token of appreciation we just gave out, so we've already thanked a lot of people already. So thank you all the sponsors. So I'll just do it in a wholesale. Thank you all the sponsors. Oh yeah. So yeah, thank you, Subisu, for the last minute arrangement. It was not it was not planned actually. So we had the last minute we had to pull the fiber, and the very on the first day of the event we had to organize it. Thank you, Ram, for organizing it in the very short notice, and that's why probably you did not see it in the banners which was printed earlier itself. So sorry about that, Ram, again. Thank you, Gaurav, for reminding that. Again, thank you to all the sponsors again and the supporters. So we were supported by a lot of organizations, but officially we had 5 organizations that we have listed out. But needless to say, there were a lot of helping hands. Thank you to NSRC, APNIC, and Ergin Electric for sending the instructors like Dr. Philip Smith, Dave, and Anurag Bhatia. Thank you very much for leading the workshops. All the speakers, thank you very much to all the speakers. Thank you to all the co-instructors. Probably we were not able to give the token of appreciation. We are probably short time. Thank you very much. Maybe we'll distribute that later. Thank you very much to Ganjam Raut and Indra for assisting in routing security workshop. Thank you to Rupesh Basnet and Milan for assisting in network automation workshop. Thank you to Dibya, Chatur, and Milan, I think, right? So for assisting in the network management workshop. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And thank you, most importantly, thank you to the participants. All of you, you've been a great participants, and thank you very much to everyone for bearing with us. I mean, attending this conference for the whole day. You were fantastic. You all were fantastic. Thank you very much for attending this. And lastly, but not least, thank you to the hotel as well for giving this great platform, great this thing. Thank you to the audio video guys, event management company Vogue, and in particular Suras. Thank you very much for the great, great setup. Suras stayed like probably around 1 a.m. till morning, and then again like came back around 6 o'clock. 1 a.m. was when I left. Maybe I don't know what time till what time he left. So he hasn't stepped off. So thank you very much, Suraj, and the whole team for your effort. Who else did I miss? Did I miss anybody? Oh, thank myself. Okay, thank you, Samit and NPNOG team. All the NPNOG team, the team has been really fantastic. All the NPNOG team has put in a lot of effort to bring this together. A great event and a great helping hand to SANOG. And we are very happy to partner with NPNOG to conduct this SANOG 38 in Nepal. Thank you, everybody, and have a great evening. And I think we'll be heading towards Radisson for dinner, social dinner, sponsored by Nokia. So thank you very much. If we have some time, probably allow him some time to speak two words. Sakib, do you want to speak anything? Just a minute. Okay. Samit, or do you want to add in? I just wanted to make it informal as possible. As much informal as possible. Thank you very much, Kabir ji. I forgot. Yeah, Kabir sir.
Yeah, hi, good evening to all. So this was a great program and well organized by all instructors. The workshop was wonderful and it was actually a more sort of technical program as well as there were multiple workshop tracks and there was multiple labs actually basically which can encourage people to take more and more participation. That's
Just a quick info on the fellowship part. Sakib, is one of the fellows. We've selected 7 fellows this time out of like around 90 to 100 applications that we received. Due to the short notice and issue around due to the pandemic also, I think that one of the fellow from Bhutan dropped out. Out of the 7 fellows, 2 were from Bangladesh, 3 were from Bangladesh, 3 were from India, and then 1 was from Nepal. I think. And if there is any other feedback or any comment from the participants or from anybody in the floor, I think we can open the floor for 1 minute for a quick feedback or anything. Anything? Anybody wants to say anything? Just a quick minute. Yeah. You want to say? Anurag, where is he? Usually he has questions.
Yes, as if I haven't been on stage enough. It's always the usual thing. There's always one person who's forgotten, and that's actually the SANOG chair. Rupesh has put a lot of work into putting this event together. This is the first one. It's the first one after the pandemic, and was kind of, should we do this or not, or what's going to happen, and so forth. But so it's really special that Nepal has been able to host us. Very happy to get back on the road again with so many international participants. This is probably the first or second, third event for a lot of us, apart from Matt, who's been traveling the world since March. But I hope that we can all get back on the road. And looking forward to future SANOG, looking forward to Rupesh, Jisai Kabir, and other folks who make SANOG happen, carry on, because this is such a worthwhile event for the whole internet community in South Asia. I'm very happy since the start to see all the countries, as Rupesh said, have their own node, and we look forward to working with all the nodes in South Asia in the future. But anyway, I want to say thank you again, Rupesh. You've done such an amazing job the last few years. Long may it continue.
Okay, so with this, we end the SANOG 38. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending SANOG. Thank you.